Yep. Welcome to another episode of the 10x Developer Podcast. Right.
My
Yeah.
precious.
Yeah.
We're doing a different day today, right? We
Yeah.
strategically planned this because we wanted to do this right after Google's announcement. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. So Google announcement came in yesterday, or day before yesterday. So today we're excited to be here on a Wednesday. So yeah, Wednesday episodes are always interesting because we
Yeah,
have 9 days news instead of 7 days news.
that's right. Um, so, all right, should we talk about some major announcements that happened yesterday, right? Let me start with Gemini 3. So this is their Google launched their brand new. So from
Yeah.
2.5 to 3, this is their latest brand new model. I think
Yeah.
there is a Gemini 3 Pro and Gemini 3, just the base model. And the feedback has been just crazy around this. Obviously, it's topping all the evaluation charts. You got like on LM Arena, as a coding agent is doing 76.2, which is actually even better than the Cloud Sonnet 4.5. So we have a new leader here. Um, the interesting thing about this is that it has 1 million token context window. And to be honest with you, Precious, the pricing seemed very reasonable to me. So it's like $2, which is actually even at par with GPT, because GPT is probably the sort of very common sort of very reasonable pricing. Claude always been expensive. So it's cheaper than Claude, obviously doing better than Claude in some of this leaderboards if you trust them. But the interesting couple of facts is that it has a 1 million token context window. That literally means you can feed your entire code base to this. Um, and everyone got access. I think it's suddenly available to all the tools. If you're using Cursor, you got this model already. If you're using GitHub Copilot, it's already available or getting available by today or something. I saw an announcement.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been playing with Antigravity. We'll talk about that a little bit shortly from yesterday, and I'll provide some feedback. So Google is back, baby.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
back.
I even saw a post by some Altman saying that, oh, that Gemini 3 is such a good model. And then I've watched some videos, people doing some of their own personal benchmark tests, running some very complex things on it. I
Yeah,
personally, I used it I was trying to do some data engineering stuff, some stuff with BigQuery last night. And then I used it. I mean, it was able to guide me through most of the steps, and then was even able to take some of the data and then work on it by itself. And I was like, this is good. This is good.
it
So
has a yeah, and it has some of. I feel like there is another interesting property in here. I mean, all of this obviously very impressive.
yeah,
Another interesting property is that is understanding of like an visual design. So I think what Google is rolling out now is that your Google search, I don't know whether everybody's seeing this now, based on your search item, what you're searching on Google is going to dynamically change your search result view. Sometimes it might generate a video to show how, let's say you're asking how this X, Y, and Z work, right? How is this, how LLM works, let's say. And imagine Google search not only showing some search results, also generating video on the fly that explains
ooh,
how LLM process information. Yeah, yeah, totally.
wow, that's. I mean, the ones I see are the ones that where they suggest YouTube videos, and then they might even cut it out just to the part where it explains the particular thing I'm searching for, right? I didn't
Yeah,
know that we
totally.
got to the level where it generates
Yeah,
the video on the fly. That's awesome.
that's awesome, dude.
That's awesome. I mean, and then maybe we should talk about anti-gravity, right? I mean,
Okay.
the name
Yeah.
is very interesting.
Yeah, so so there's some research, there's some cutting edge stuff happening. The one thing that I also feel like Google is back because I've been seeing demo videos from them, like product launch videos, where I see Sergey in there. So even
Yeah.
founders are back, and they have this whole saying in the founder mode, right? I think Google is back in founder mode, so there are lots of exciting stuff going to happening now.
Yeah.
Um, I think we are getting into the point for the startups all where what if Google builds this? I think that's already happening now. Google is sort of building it.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So let's talk about anti-gravity. So this is their new uh, agent first ID for developers. Now, some is saying that I haven't used Windsurf before, but some are saying this is just a copy of Windsurf. Remember
Yeah.
that thing happened between Google, Windsurf, who bought it?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
AI,
yeah,
yeah, where they took the team and then they had to buy them off.
yeah. Then Devin, the cognition guys, bought the team, or I don't know.
Yeah,
There was a huge back and forth there. But anyway, I thought that Google never got the code base, but apparently sounds like looks like they did. So lots of people are saying there are still uh, stuff from Windsurf left on this idea because obviously they rushed it
yeah.
to launch this on the same day. But anti-gravity is out. It looks when you launch it, it's going to look very much like VS Code. But there are a couple of things I thought was very interesting. I'm going to switch to anti-gravity going forward. That's the default.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. The one of the fundamental reason for that is it comes with Gemini 3, their free version. Right now, it's giving away free to everybody, guys. Anyone is
yeah.
listening, you should download and start using it. You get access to Gemini 3 for free.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
for how long. Uh, but Gemini 3 felt very snappier to me. It was super fast responsive compared to my experience with Claude. That's my biggest frustration with Claude right now. This is super slow. You have to
No.
wait. But Gemini 3 felt really fast. One of the things that they have done is that they have introduced it's they sort of have three interfaces. Okay, this
Okay.
ID. One is they have this agent manager dashboard. That means like almost think like agent manager sits on top of your ID, and
Yeah.
your ID will have multiple workspaces. So the given you can open one anti-gravity and open multiple projects at the same time. And your agent manager sits on top of all these projects. So you can point any project to agent manager, which is very different design than typically what VS Code, Cursor, and other does, because your LLM is kind of bundled with your project, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the third bit that they have done is that there is a now integration to a browser. So when you're doing any front end development, your Gemini would be able to launch your app on the browser, verify the errors that's getting that feedback loop automatically done.
Oh, that's such an
Uh,
interesting phenomenon.
Very interesting. That sort of makes sense. Now you can just build your Next.js app with Gemini 3. It will able to run it, verify what errors is happening, and continuously try to fix for it. You don't have to copy paste anymore. And
Oh,
they're
wow.
doing that, which is smart. They're doing that by launching a Chrome extension. So Antigravity has a Chrome extension. You have to install that extension to make that connection.
Oh, wow. So I guess they may not.
This is good because they own Chrome, we
Yeah.
own this. So this is sort of tying all their ecosystem together.
Yeah. This is. Oh, wow. See, I mean, this goes back to say that Google is going to win at the end of the day because I
I
mean,
think
everybody's
so.
sort of
I think
launching browser.
yeah. I think I will I'll claim, and I think the beginning episodes of this podcast. I mean, we complained about Google. So what are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah. What are they
Uh,
doing?
but I will eat my own words. I mean, they're back. I mean, these are sweaty stuff. And like I said, for Agent Link, I'm defaulting everything to Gemini because I'm very happy with the model performance. With now 3, which will be my default go-to model. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. So give it a
Yeah.
shot. Anti-gravity is really good. They have this another concept. There are lots of new stuff. This concept of artifacts, not like cloud artifacts. What I've noticed is because yesterday I immediately gave it a task to solve, right?
Yeah.
What it did is that it took the problem and it has a planning phase now.
Yeah.
They have two phases now: planning and fast or speed or something. In the planning phase, what it does is that it essentially obviously takes a bit longer time to think through the problem. And when it's doing that, what is essentially creating is it's creating an artifact, which is sort of a markdown file that have
Yeah.
all the tasks in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it saves to in your inbox. So agent manager is almost like your like Gmail. It has an inbox and all this conversation is stored there. So you can
Yeah.
edit those artifacts if you want to provide some feedback.
Oh.
Um,
So that
through
means I can go into like different layers of the tasks to
different
be
layers,
able to get.
which I thought was interesting because I always felt like when Claude does this too, it creates this to-do list and planning, but it obviously never saves that. It just shows you on the session and it disappears. But in this
Oh.
case, this artifacts are sort of persistent, and there is a way to have conversation around that. So almost like you're creating a specification document and you're working on the document and providing you feedback. uh,
Oh.
I did notice one problem though, that is when it was in a planning phase, I always based on my experience with Claude, planning phase, Claude never makes file changes. It always asks
Okay.
for your permission. Yeah, but in this case, Gemini went in and started making changes. Okay, and I said like, wait a minute, why are you making changes? And it replied saying, well, you told me to. You said
Ah,
it's good, but I didn't. So it hallucinated probably a little bit, but nonetheless, it was pretty impressive experience.
yeah, I guess it's going to get better with time. I mean, right? So these are tiny issues that probably they're going to take from feedback from users and then fix it with
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely going to check it out because it's free. And then I'm also on Gemini Pro. They gave out, Gemini Pro. So I have it for the next 1 year. So I'm going to definitely check it out and
Yeah.
then try it, build stuff with it, and then definitely get changes. So what do you think about them having only Gemini model inside it? Do you think they're eventually going to bring in other models in, or they're going to stick with having only
I
Gemini?
feel like they have other models. They have Claude, obviously. Claude 4.5 is here.
Oh,
Claude is playing, Anthropic is playing very Switzerland in here because obviously they are the only provider model. I think you saw that, right? There was I don't know whether we're going to cover this story. They announced a research partnership. So NVIDIA, hear me out, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and
yeah.
Anthropic are partnering together.
Nvidia, Microsoft, and Anthropic.
Yeah,
Wow.
so the partnership goal is that I think Microsoft is trying to build the AI super factory, obviously the big data center,
Yeah.
for which NVIDIA is required. And also, another angle of that announcement was that now Claude models will be available on Azure.
Oh,
So
interesting.
Claude is probably the only model out there that is obviously available in AWS, available in your
Microsoft, and then
uh,
available on Google.
Google Cloud and Microsoft now.
Interesting. I think they're
Yeah,
playing a very interesting. So I think this also ties back to them being developer focused instead of going all general model for
yeah,
being like a
yeah,
general model focus. So if they can sell the idea that, oh, we are here for developers, then they can easily integrate, and the partnership can also be possible for them.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think actually going on with them.
It will be interesting to see how OpenAI come back, how they react to this, because obviously this directly goes against what they are trying to do, right?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes against what they're trying to do. They're trying to like, go. I mean, we covered one story like weeks ago where we covered that fact that most OpenAI was hiring a lot of financial analysts and all, right? So I
Yeah,
think
but
they
there's
may
still
decide to do the
idea
same.
is, yeah. I think we talked about, yeah, we've talked about this many times, the distribution, right? How now Google, and then let's just say Google, so if Google does what it's trying to do with search, right, dynamically kind of change your view to what you want,
Yeah,
it, going back to my biggest complaint that I have with Google search, right, the ChatGPT gives me the answers, not search results, right? there is
yeah,
a there is a difference, but sounds like the Google search is evolving into giving answers. Then then this whole idea of Comet and Atlas, all this
yeah,
browser
yeah.
stuff, I mean, I
If
think
Google,
there are these are direct threats to those products, right?
yeah, I'm, I, it's interesting. Like I'm so excited with what the next few months 1 year is going to look like for especially companies like OpenAI, right? OpenAI, and then maybe Perplexity. I don't know if they count in this regard, right? I don't know if they count
Yeah, I
in
mean,
this.
they have to figure something out. I feel like I'm sure they will. I mean, I don't want, but yeah.
But,
But I
but then
think I think
um,
models are getting into such a stage now, and I will disagree with most of the people out there. There is no app layer, right? The biggest
yeah,
threat is the biggest threat is that this model provider is going to move into building applications, right? But I
yeah,
still feel like as a startup founder or all the founders out there, your biggest opportunity is now in the app layer. The models are becoming so good. Now is the time to think about what type of problems I can solve with that. And yes, there is a fear that OpenAI might, like you said, or Claude might go get into specific verticals like um, back office or whatever automation that we're going after. I think then your differentiation is going to be how deeply you understand the problem, how you close you are with your customers, like business 101 essentially.
yeah. But then if you think in that angle also, most of these companies like Google is almost like a research first company. Like they spend a lot of money on research and a lot of time on research, which means they are before they even try to solve a problem in a particular field, they are definitely going to spend a lot of time and money researching that particular problem. So if you as a founder who is maybe let's say you have like a domain expertise in a particular field and you're trying to solve a problem on that field, that basically going to out research you on that field because you might know what problem you face in your own area, but then they are going to spend a lot of time researching the whole system. And then when they eventually launch, they might still beat you to it.
Might, but the nature of information is, how if you look at the information hierarchy, the closer you're to the leaf node, the more information, more real-time information and data you have. What that means is that's why I feel like I'm going to get a little political. Large centralized large governments really doesn't work because they might be sitting in Washington, they might be sitting in somewhere else. Really doesn't
Yeah.
matter what's happening in Columbus, Ohio. So sometimes it logically makes sense. The nature of information is the closer that you are with your field or to your customer, the better insights you'll have, which is always a big problem for large organizations. They could have all the resources and money, but they will have hard time getting into that information.
Oh yeah. 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 I
Uh,
agree with
for a time being, that's your mode. That's your advantage if you're a small startup.
you. Yeah.
All right, time to move to next story.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right. So I think this is an interesting story because a, a lot of things are happening in Asia, especially China. And when I saw this, I was like, "Yo, we need to cover this." So ByteDance. So ByteDance is the company that owns TikTok and CapCut. So the CapCut is the app that most people use to edit their TikTok videos, right? So
What's the
you know,
name? Oh,
CapCut.
Cap. Yeah, yeah, I know that.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
is it like a video editing app? I use it to edit most of our videos,
Mhm.
right? So um, they own CapCut and they own TikTok, and they just launched their own model called Doubao-Seed-Code, right? And then it's currently one of the cheapest model in Asia, right? And it's very lightweight. It supports about 256K context window and is visible to everybody, right? Now, so I think it was Anthropic that announced recently about sort of like reducing their model or access to their models for some parts of Asia or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, and that was why these guys try to launch this model, right? So and this is like a Chinese model. So it has like rapid reasoning, agentic workflows, multi-file planning, vision language tags, so which means you can plan a task by just seeing what you can take a picture of your task and then it goes on to solve it for you, right? So and then they said this is the clearest sign of price war in AI developer tools, especially for solo developer and indie hackers, and then early stage startups. So this model is very good, and then it is very cheap. So it costs about $1.30 per month for you to use this model, right?
That's
So yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Is
And then
it?
I'm more
How is the
interested.
model performing in general? Is it fine tuned for coding then, or?
No, it's not fine tuned for coding. I guess they're going to maybe have a little bit difficulty doing that because the data, I'm assuming that they train it based on the data available to them, and the data available to them as a company might be a lot of vision, like videos, and so which is why what they talked about, their selling point mostly is division language tags.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, division language tags, which is
Okay.
interesting. Yeah. So yeah,
I mean, I
I
know
think I,
Chinese models are doing really good in terms of, I know lots of startups are building products on top of that. I mean,
yeah.
we talked
I
about this,
mean,
right? It makes a lot of
they're
sense that,
mostly open source.
yeah, it's open
Yeah,
source.
go on, go on.
It's open
Yeah,
source.
open source.
Okay, that's even better, right? No, yeah, I mean, it's sort of, I mean, not only that, large organizations. I saw an article where Airbnb sort of also using the QN, QUEN, the one of
The
the
Queen
famous
model.
Queen,
Yeah,
Queen. How do you say it?
Queen. I just call it Queen model.
Queen,
Yeah.
yeah. Queen models because it's very cheaper. Technically, potentially, you can host it also, and I mean, it doesn't have to be sort of one model for everything, right? I mean, I think the common strategy out there right now is using multiple models for, I mean, choose the right model for the right task, essentially.
Yeah.
um, so another, I have only thing I got is some Google news here. So this is sort of a I don't have much details around that, but the story is fascinating. It's only available to folks who have Gemini sort of enterprise plan. Apparently, Google slowly releasing something called multi-agent research engine. Okay, so this is what I got from. I will share the link later on after the story. The idea here is imagine a system where you can throw ideas to it, research ideas. What if we can build this drug, or what if we can solve this problem? What if we can do this? What if questions that we usually get. So
Yeah.
then what this multi-agent system does is that it's part of Gemini Enterprise. Yeah, it autonomously going to generate, refine, and autonomate rank them. So essentially, work on these ideas in parallel for you.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
um, validate pros and cons, might generate solutions, figuring out how that's going to work, and then rank it in a tournament style. Here is a top idea. Here is a second idea, sort of thing. So it has
Wow.
two agents. It's called idea generation agent and the co-scientist, which sort of drives the Nobel scientific discovery. So I'm assuming that scientist agent probably has access to the all the scientific literature and whatnot. So it's going to validate your idea with that,
Oh, wow.
which is nuts. Usually, companies have teams and take
Yeah.
months to do this. And here, what I see in my notes is that they've been able to rank 100 ideas in 40 minutes.
100 ideas in 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow. That
Uh,
is
yeah.
that's
So
fast.
this is not only developers now. I mean, we are. I mean, I keep saying. I mean, I think in next frontier, I think in next few years we're gonna see lots of interesting discoveries.
Yeah.
I think that will definitely accelerate in science. I mean, which is what I'm excited about. This is the promise of AI, right? We have lots of problems
Yeah.
and we should solve those problems. I mean,
I'm
imagine
even
some of this
even
research comes
thinking,
out curing cancer, so that'll be amazing.
yeah, I'm even thinking we might start discovering new problems. I mean, problems that we didn't know were before. Right. So we might start discovering new problems and then seeing, you know,
Yeah.
having to solve them using these things.
So there is another. I mean, I never knew about this company, but I heard about this company recently. It's called Cosmos. It's a very very similar story. That's I'm covering this right now.
Yeah.
The name of the company is Edison Scientific. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
I think based on Thomas Edison, obviously. So they released another agent, a new agent. They call it AI Scientist, a system that autonomously read research, write code, and generate hypotheses, and produce publish great scientific insights. Like
Wow.
if you were a owner of a drug company or pharmaceutical company, I mean, you're gonna have like 10 of these AI scientists running 24/7, figuring out what's a new idea, new drug, or new thing to develop, right? The the architecture, this is not your standard go to LLM models that we talk about. This sort of like this have structured walled model like Gemini and other,
Yeah.
but can process tens of thousands of tokens, tens of thousands of millions of tokens. I mean, so it doesn't. It obviously has a large context window. It can read 1,500 papers, execute, analyze, execute, run code and stuff. So what I'm trying to get at is all these tools are trying to do is that sort of disrupting the research field.
Yeah.
What used to take 6 months now will take weeks, maybe days to resolve. Um, so
Wow.
this is wild. This is so wild.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that we're seeing all these things happening. I mean, the next 2026 is going to be an interesting year, especially technology wise, and then in terms
Yeah.
of like products and then development and all those things, right? I mean, I've seen we've moved within last year and this year, we've seen the price of building softwares drop. Maybe not big softwares, but then price of building an MVP drop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People now build MVPs without, so you're telling someone about an idea, you can code that particular idea in one weekend and then the person sees it, right? Now we are going into an era where ideas, I mean, people can, you can see a particular problem, then you research it. I mean, these days I think up of something, I put it in ChatGPT, it gives me like all the pros and cons, it helps me like to cover the wider idea, the wider parts of that problem. And then sometimes I just try my luck, I just tell it to tell me other people that are also thinking of the same thing, or maybe research of people that have also thought of the same problems that I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
right? And then it always gives me stuff. So it's interesting to
What a
see. It's
time to be
interesting.
alive, man. Right?
What a time to be
I
alive, right?
swear.
Yeah, what a time to be
So much.
alive.
It's the next few years is going to be so exciting.
Yeah, so exciting. All right, so I have this news here. Yeah, since we are talking about the new things happening in the coming years, so Bloomberg did a research, and this is a research on jobs. So they are trying to like sort of see what jobs that AI is taking and what job is doing that people are hiring. So the research came out and they saw a 40% increase on ML engineering jobs, right? Now, 11% increase on research and applied scientist jobs. Robotic engineers job also increased by 11%, and then data center and AI infrastructure roles increased by 9%. Right. So these are the jobs that that increased, and then so what they simply did in this research was that they took out they analyzed over 180, right? They analyzed 180 million job postings, right? And these are all job posting between 2023 to 2025, right? So they took all the job posting and then they sort of like analyzed it
Mm.
just to see what job were people asking for more, were people
What
trying
type
to
of
hire
jobs
more of,
opening? Mhm.
and then the ones that got a decline and the one that increased. And this was some of the things that they noticed. So according to the blog post, I'm going to drop the link to the blog post here. So according to the blog post, they saw decline in some jobs like computer VFX and 3D artists, right? These are jobs that got the biggest decline, right? So compliance specialists had like 27% decline. Photographer has 28% decline, which is interesting. Writer has
Wait,
27.89%
who is,
decline.
what do you mean by photographer jobs? What does that mean? Like,
So this photographer jobs are like guys that take pictures. That's what I think it means.
I know. What does that mean?
So
Most of them are independent business owners, don't they?
yeah,
For
most of them are independent. I mean, maybe these are companies used to hire in-house,
like
and then
studios, maybe
yeah,
studios hiring them.
studios used to hire. Yeah. So photographers, writers, sustainability
This has gotta
specialists.
be this has gotta be related to AI, right? So AI is getting so good at
Yeah. So I'm guessing that, but which is interesting because why are people hiring less geotechnical engineers, right? So geotechnical engineers got like, also a decline, and then chemical operators got like a decline. I don't know if there is anything with, this the jobs that got declined and AI. I don't know, but
like compliance one I can see immediately.
yeah,
I know there are lots of companies that are solving that problem. It's just, yeah, I mean, but this goes back to this whole, I don't know, you have to be careful of this data numbers. This goes back to that famous thing about AI gonna replace a radiologist post.
yeah,
I shared a few weeks back, where before even we talked about nobody's going to need software engineers, kind of same vein, like AI going to replace software engineers. But and my true belief is no, it's actually going to increase more job opportunities. Our job gonna what our day-to-day work might look very different, but we're going to need more software engineers because everything's going to be running on software.
yeah,
So similar thing happened with radiologists too, right? AI is going to get really good at analyzing the reports. Why we would need radiologists, and that
yeah,
blogs goes through details of saying no, there is actually increase in demand for radiologists now because a lot of this AI going to replace X job really doesn't understand um, how legal system work, what kind of feedback loops are there, what policies are in place, right? If AI make a mistake in a prognosis with a radio or some image, who the patient's going to sue, right? Who is
yeah.
responsible for that, right? I mean, there's so many. We are in a part of a system, right? We are a small block in a system. We gotta understand as a system as a whole how they operate before we just say replace software engineers
Oh
or
yeah.
replace radiologists, replace compliance officers.
I think that's also why it's interesting because this research is interesting because um, the this is what companies are not hiring for, right? Companies are not putting out jobs for these particular roles, right? And this is what they just measured. So they are not trying to predict what will be and what will not be. They're just saying, oh, in the past 1 year, we've seen that companies are not putting out notice job openings for these particular roles and then these roles. For example, in medicine, they saw a 20% decline in medical scribe. I don't even know that is a role, but then maybe those in medical medical
No,
field.
medical transcription is a big deal. I know. I totally know that part.
Yeah. So those guys they saw like a 20% increase, and then an
A 20%
11%
increase?
decrease.
Decrease. Actually.
Yeah, 20% decrease, which is like the highest in the medical fields, right? So and then there is also like 0% decrease in medical coders, like maybe developers who work in the medical fields, right? So I think it's
Yeah,
0.2%
those things are
decrease.
very much automate. Yeah, automation. I think automation is what's happening there.
Is what's happening. Yeah. So, but then generally, I think it's interesting to see how companies are, putting out openings for these
But
roles and
there
they're
is
not
there
putting
is another aspect that we have to. And maybe I should back it up with data. There is another aspect we have to think about is how many of those jobs were going unfilled because we didn't have enough talent.
Oh,
I think it's just measuring one side of the how many jobs opening. Yeah, there could be 100 job opening, but there are so many jobs opening that get unfilled, right? They can't
yeah,
find
yeah,
people.
yeah. Also, yeah,
Uh, so, like medical transcription, I know that's a big thing that gets outsourced usually to India and other places. But I gotta assume that there is not many people get up in the morning and say, "Do we have medical?"
yeah.
People,
I mean, I didn't know about it, but
if you're gonna hate me for this, so But I feel like there was always this supply demand issue. I think what's happening is probably a good thing for the industry that AI is sort of bridging the gap. I think there is a still demand for the people, but that gap is sort of shrinking down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I yeah, I'm kind of I can cover this one, but that's probably a bunch of yeah. So okay, so there's so Replit released a new product called this is another product launch news called Design Mode for their product, and this came
Yeah.
out with along with the announcement of Gemini 3 because this is built on top of Gemini 3. So like
Oh
I was
wow.
saying, Gemini 3 apparently is really good at I know Figma is also integrated Gemini 3 now. It's really good at generating UI prototype. So you can really generate a very polished, high quality designs from Gemini that will not look like, all AI generated websites have that same look. I don't know whether you recognize that pattern. And looking at a website, you can tell now whether this was Vive coded by Lovable or something or not.
Yeah.
Um, so they're sort of solving that problem now. Your design gonna feel very sort of true, unique, or artistic. So that capability is a design mode, which they're sort of tapping into the capabilities of a Gemini 3. That means now with Replit, you can have a very high quality design and then feed the design to their agent to sort of generate the code.
Generate the code. So I mean, I know Figma has like a design mode. We've covered it on this podcast in the past when they launched.
Hmm.
I don't know if this is sort of like closely related to design mode on by Figma. Also, last week we sort of like covered a particular model. I can't remember the name. That you take a screenshot of a page that you want and just give it to that model. Then it creates a design on Figma of
Oh yeah,
that particular,
isn't it? I think Google has it.
yeah, of that
I think
particular,
Google has a product like that which creates that was prompt to Figma design or something.
yeah, prompt Figma design. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
So
Gemini has a very good understanding of visual hierarchy, layout, color theory, typography. So
oh yeah,
that means it's going to be really good at generating a very aesthetic landing pages.
I did produce. All right. So I think one last story here for me
Mm,
to cover is the story from Kosmos. So Kosmos raised 2.3 billion
crazy.
at a 29.3 billion valuation, right?
No.
So which means I think they are. I think we covered it here. They are trying to they are exploring building their own models, right? You know, I think we covered it. I can't remember the full
Yeah, we
details.
covered it last week or a couple of weeks back. They did launch a new model.
Yeah, so I guess that's also why part of why they raised. So they are trying to go deeper into enterprise integrations. They also want to bring more agentic features, faster support for large scale report analysis, and then they want to increase competition with GitHub Copilot, Antigravity, and JetBrains AI. It's interesting how they didn't mention some other AI, but it's
What
fine.
other AI tools we have?
Right. So yeah, and then they basically try to like target developers more, broader enterprise integration so that they target startups and then companies that are trying to integrate cursor into their workflow, and then they want to become more autonomous as a workflow. They want to have more autonomous workflow, basically become more agentic, and then
Yeah,
increase their capability with internal code bases, right?
yeah,
So I think this is an interesting one, and then it's also crazy how these companies are raising crazy amount of money, and then
yeah. Cursor is a really good success story. I mean, obviously I think they're doing good. I mean, I
yeah,
know companies use Cursor and
yeah.
they're happy with it.
I
Going
think a
back to
lot of companies here
questions,
use it also.
I don't know anybody who uses Perplexity or Replit, but I'm sure I'm not. This is a good story. I think they found a niche in terms of Cursor is really good at front end projects.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's not going to be one player take it all, though, right?
yeah,
It's interesting how anti-gravity plays out. I mean, they have to do exceptionally well. Um, And a model has a lot to do with that. If anti-gravity stays free, then Cursor is fighting with free product because Cursor is not free, right?
Yeah.
And so if Cursor takes front end, I'm sure Apple Xcode will figure out something for app developers with Claude. JetBrain will take the hardcore backend engineers that will never leave JetBrain. The JVM, they will never. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so it will be interesting to see how anti gravity positions itself.
Yeah. 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 It's really interesting to see. All right. So, do you have any more stories to cover?
I don't think so. I mean, I have, but not interesting enough. We don't have to.
All right. All right. So, guys, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. So, thank you for joining us on this episode of 10x Developer Podcast. So, join us again on Monday, unless if anything changes, we will let you know. So, join us again on Monday for another episode. So, those watching us on Twitter, those watching us on LinkedIn, we appreciate you. And those watching on YouTube, we say hi. I don't know anyone in the chat. So we can see Viper in the chat. Viper, shout out to you. Thank you for joining and thank you for dropping a comment. And then yeah, I think I saw about 10 people watching on Twitter. Thank you for joining us on X. And then those on LinkedIn, thank you very much. So this is where we say bye bye and enjoy